Hi everybody, Renegade 67 and or 68 here with some more, yes. Let's play SAS Stream Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works of the Blind Variety. So, last time Saber died emotionally, metaphorically, Shiro killed her by choosing to save Taiga instead. That's how he's going to think of it, and he's going to hate himself for it. It's not going to be the right way to think about it, but it's how he'll think about it. Um, and it's going to be interesting to see how he develops past this for sure. Something I was thinking about that's kind of interesting actually about that whole situation is I didn't say it, but as they were going home from the date, I was thinking to myself, what is Saber's narrative function in the date? And now post date, I know, but at the time, I was thinking, well, maybe it just lets the Shiro and Rin be more chill around each other, as opposed to getting extra awkward. And that's there, I suppose. And of course, I was saying that, oh, if Saber comes with them, then they have a servant with them, so they don't have to worry about getting attacked. And that's true, but like, if you wanted to have it just be Shiro and Rin, you could, and just have it say that, oh, Archer's watching, he's just invisible or whatever, he won't get in the way. They could have done that instead, if they wanted to. However, it has a really nice function in hindsight because with Saber being lost, we essentially see Saber, and for Shiro, it's like the first time he's seeing Saber have fun in this timeline, and the first time we're really seeing Saber have fun in a long time. Uh, and Shiro's getting to see it for the first time right before she gets snatched away. Essentially, he sees what he's going to be missing before he loses it. So that's good in that respect. And also, in a way, like I was saying, she was kind of useless. She was kind of non-factor in the date until the date was over. It sort of that kind of represents the idea of Saber being the third wheel in the relationship, as it were, where she was the one Shiro was going after in timeline one, but now Shiro's got a new vision. Yet Saber's still here on this date as like a third wheel, and then the third wheel kind of just got broken off and taken away by Castor because Shiro didn't care enough about Saber, the third wheel, in this timeline. Um, Granted, it wasn't about choosing Rin over Saber, it was choosing Taiga over Saber, but still, in Shiro's mind, he's going to think the whole reason that situation happened was due to him having fun. Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, that too, for sure, for sure, for sure. He's obviously going to blame himself in multiple ways. But yes, the question is, what is his resolution going to be? Because he might just be like, oh, I'm going to blame myself because I had fun. But once you get past that, there's also the notion of if you had just not tried so hard to get back Taiga, you might not have lost Saber. Um, and so, what's the resolution for Shiro at this point? I don't think it's just, I'm going to become a complete cynic. Though it could be temporarily, and then he might have to mellow out again later on. That's possible. Um, he mans up or he goes evil. He can go cynic without going evil, I would say. But I don't see him going cynic as the long-term solution because it narratively, it doesn't really work because A, Kiritsugu was a cynic and the whole point was him learning that, oh, this is all wrong. And if Archer is Shiro from the future past, then that's like the bad future version of him that he wants to avoid. So, it could be that, yeah, it could be that he becomes cynical and then mellows later on. He can be smarter without being extra, like, super cynical. He can still try his best to save everyone, but still understand that he might lose people and accept that without breaking down in the moment. That might be the healthy outcome, but there's certainly the danger of him going very cynical. Anyways, dash. He probably will temporarily go very cynical. And that might lead into the idea of that maybe Archer is Shiro from the future where Shiro goes super cynical. And then Shiro has to uncynical himself. Thoughts. Dash. A room I don't know. Has he not been in Tosaka's room? He's been in her house. I guess he hasn't been in this room. Yeah, that's true. I stare at the ceiling with a boiling head. That's the only thing I can do. It seems I'm lying on a bed. You kind of rhymed a little.
私じゃ治せない。この傷じゃこれ以上は戦えないでしょうけど。もうマスターじゃないんだから戦う理由もないか。
Oh, Rin, if you really think that's how Shiro's gonna react to the situation. I can't heal this wound. You can't fight with this wound. And his will is probably shattered. We went over Timeline 1, how there are bad endings where Avalon just doesn't heal him. So it definitely seems like Avalon's healing powers are tied to his will to want to be healed, I would say. Here, he definitely hates himself a lot. So I don't know that he would want himself to be healed beyond just being healed to try to save Saber if he thinks there's a chance. You can't fight with this wound, but you're not a master anymore, so there's no reason for you to fight anyway. Okay, this is Rin's way of saying to herself, okay, Shiro, you are kind of fucked up, but maybe we can be together and I can be the winning master and you don't have to be my enemy anymore. Enemy more. It's her way of justifying to herself the silver lining in this situation. The problem is Shiro is going to hardcore plane himself, and as long as Saber has the potential to be saved, and since she's just controlled and not dead, there will be that potential. He's not going to think of himself as out of the master fight. And to be fair, Rin, after Archer got taken out, you didn't for a second think of yourself as out of the fight in the other timeline. You just let yourself fight by extension through Shiro. And that's almost certainly, to some extent, what Shiro's going to go towards as well. Though he might be sulking for a long time first. The Taiga is sort of an X factor here, because what's Taiga going to do? She's not going to end up waking up in her own house, I don't think. So we're probably going to have to tell her some kind of lie. Taiga might try to cut to Shiro's core a little bit, but probably also it will just be Archer, because I think Rin isn't properly equipped to handle this at the moment, at least not by herself. Archer and Rin together might help. Although it might be neither of them that fully gets through to him, it depends. Because if Archer is able to fully get through to him, he'd have to purposely not for a while, is the idea. Because I feel like Shiro's going to be sulking for a while. It's not going to be an instant, So if someone's going to get cut to his core, it might not be someone who's here right now. It could be someone who, I don't know, they wouldn't necessarily know Shiro's here unless Rin goes to like school and tells people. Maybe she could meet Ayako, and Ayako could Shiro. Oh, fucking no. Is Ayako still a time bomb? Do I still have that theory? We haven't seen her forever. Anyways, worrying about Shiro's problems. You're not a master anymore, so there's no reason for you to fight anyway. A calm voice, unlike before. The person that brought me here to treat my wound.
ここまでね。シロはもう戦わなくていいわ。
She's fully given in. She's calling him Shiro all the time now. She has no reason not to, I would say, because she doesn't really think of him as an enemy master, I suppose, anymore. Also, now that she knows he's maybe not technically an Emiya, I don't know if that plays into it at all, but she might feel a little awkward about calling him that after what just transpired and learning it just now. This is it. You don't have to fight anymore, Shiro. Says those words. And he's going to probably stay injured. He'll probably heal the wound over time. If he does need any more magical healing, he's going to need a pep talk before he magically heals, I would assume. Dash, 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 dash. I try to say something and my vision turns black. My eyelids fall. Anesthesia causes my body to fall asleep. Oh, Rin gives you some anesthesia, I guess, to make sure that your wounds don't hurt you so much? I could see that. I feel someone leaving and hear the sound of the door closing. That would probably be Rin. Dash, dash. My consciousness turns off at that moment. Interlude! Oh, that makes a lot of sense that we'd have an interlude. Right. Okay. Huh. I thought we'd sulk with Shiro a bit more, but that makes a lot of sense. Interlude while Shiro's sulking like a baby. Okay, Rin interlude. How long will this last? The sun sets. The sun, which wasn't even visible, sets, and the dark sky gets even darker. Interesting that they're making an interlude. This is Rin's second or real interlude, because even though we had that interlude sort of that wasn't really an interlude where he actually just took her position, I think it's interesting that they're even making this an interlude. I could definitely have seen them at this point just doing a hard cut and switching to Rin's perspective, because they've shown that they're willing to switch to Rin's perspective before. So I could have seen them just doing a hard cut and being Rin's perspective for a while and let Shiro sulk in his demons. They might even do an interlude to Shiro while in Rin's perspective is a neat idea. Interlude to Shiro sulking. Depends on how much focus they're going to have on Rin and how quickly they're going to switch back to Shiro, I suppose. If this was going to go for a long time, I assume it wouldn't be an interlude, but... The sun, which wasn't even visible, sets, and the dark sky gets even darker.
そうか。セイバーが奪われたか。
I see. So Saber got taken away. That's the only response Archer gave. His master, Tosaka Rin, simply stated the facts. But he states it even more matter-of-factly. Well, that was one enemy, and now our enemy is just working with one of our other enemies, from Archer's perspective. Har har har. No, I think he cares about Saber. He tried to take her out of the Grail War earlier, but I still believe that was subconsciously because he thinks her wish is all stupid and stuff. But her wish is never going to come true while she's being controlled by Castor anyways.
それだけ？これでキャスターの下にいるサーバントは2人よ。何か他に感想はないの？
That's all? There are 2 servants under Castor now. Don't you have anything else to say?
ああ。これといった打開策は思いつかないな。だが、奴の宝具が判明しただけでも良しとするべきだ。
I cannot think of a way to beat her at the moment, but we should consider it fortunate that we know her noble phantasm now. You don't even really know the full extent of her noble phantasm, though. Like, can she only ever do that once? Or can she do it on multiple times and steal multiple servants? Is there no limit? I feel like unless you know that limit, you haven't necessarily learned enough from this interaction. I feel like your only chance really now of winning against Castor, beyond, you know, Shiro becoming super special awesome so we can do like a double Archer against them. Beyond that, you might have to temporarily team up with one of the other masters. So, I mean, the 2 notable ones would be Shinji with Gilgamesh or Ilya with Berserker, but they might be squabbling with each other. And Gilgamesh, Shinji, they're both kind of icky. And Ilya Berserker is, I mean, she might care about Shiro if she hears about that. I don't know if she cares enough about Shiro in this timeline, though. Rule breaker doesn't sound like a thing that has too many rules attached to it. It has to have some, to some extent.
サーバントとマスターの契約を断つか。事前にそれを知っておけば、うまくことを運べるだろう。
Break the contract between the servant and the master, huh? We should be able to do better if we know that ahead of time. Interesting. Okay, so I guess when she was going to stab it at Shiro, if that was the idea of breaking the contract and not necessarily the mind control, maybe the idea is that she was stabbing it at Shiro for the same thing, just to break their contract, and this end result would have been the same of stealing Saber, I suppose.
それはそうだけど。
That's true.
ずいぶん無関心なのね、ハーチャー。あなた、セイバーに肩入れしてたんじゃないの？
But you sure sound uninterested, Archer. Weren't you supporting Saber? Was he? Did you see inside his dreams that he wanted to support Saber? Or do you just mean as a casual alliance? Do you know something extra, Ren? Because Ren alluded to knowing something extra during our date. So depending on how much extra Ren knows, that will color this conversation quite a bit. Now if that breaks rules, but only on a Saturday, when Jupiter is visible in the sky, the stab is done at a 30-degree angle, and the caster is standing upside down. Best rule breaker.
そんな素振りを見せたつもりはないが、何をもってそう思う、リム。
Okay, that's Archer's being super son here. I don't think I ever showed interest in her. What makes you think so, Ren? You definitely showed interest in her when you paused up and gave her a chance to, you know, attack you if it wasn't for Shiro's command spell.
そうね。女の勘で納得できる？
Let's see. Would woman's intuition be a good enough reason?
却下だ。女という年か君は。まず色気が足りない。
No, you are not of an age to be called a woman. First of all, you do not have enough charm.
優雅さも不足だ。
You lack elegance as well.
おまけに、これが致命的なのだが、とにかく可愛さが分かりづらい。
And most of all, yes, this is fatal. Your charm is hard to understand.
なんだ、ようやく調子出てきたわね、あんた。
I see, you're finally back to par now. She smiles pleasantly. Ah, I see. So him being a son shows that he's okay, whereas when he was responding nonchalantly, that's unnormal. Archer has to be like this. An unemotional person isn't the partner Rin trusts. She likes the son relationships, clearly. Her partner has to always be composed and has to speak cynically against anyone. Really? Do you like him being so cynical because you on the inside are such a softie, so you need him for the cynical side? Rin knows that is the kindness of this night. Speaking cynically is like indirectly telling others to fix that part of them.
そう。じゃあ、確証その1。
I see. Then here's the first proof. Proof of what? Oh, proof that he's supporting Saber. You're still on that.
あなた、初めてセイバーと会った時、手を抜いてたでしょ。
You went easy on Saber the first time you met her. Ah, she noticed that. He hesitated. I don't even think it was he went easy. I think he saw Saber and something flicked in his memory and he didn't have enough time to process it before she gave him a huge wound in the other timeline. In this timeline, Shiro prevented that.
いくらセイバーが強いって言っても、守り上手なあなたが一撃で倒されるとは思えないのよね。
Even though Saber may be strong, I don't think you, the one good at defending, would be beaten in one blow. He was never beaten. Rin, have you seen the other timeline? Or were you just predicting that would happen?
あれは不意打ちだったからな。君と同じ予想外の展開には弱いんだ。
That was a surprise attack. I'm weak against unexpected things, like you are. Way to deflect. I mean, I think Rin depends. Rin, I think, is good at unexpected, maybe battle-related stuff. It's more of the emotional side that can catch her off guard, I think. And that's the same thing for you, I think, Archer. You're good at speed chess as well, even though you can prep things in advance, but the emotional stuff messes with you. And I think that was definitely an emotional example.
余計なお世話よ。で、確証その2。
Shut up. So here's the next proof.
ライダーの一件の後、セイバーを挑発してたでしょ。
You provoked Saber after the incident with Ryder. Okay, and you think provoking Saber is being on her side? Oh, because you want her to reevaluate her wish. But would Rin even know what Saber's wish is?
あれってどう考えてもあんたらしくないのよね。
That wasn't like you at all. If Archer is Shiro, makes sense he's a speed chess master. Given how little he plans in advance, yeah. I guess Archer saving Shiro and then on the fly being like, oh, but I don't want to kill Ryder might be an example. And then, oh, wait, never mind, I'm going to attack Shiro. It's an example of recalculating things on the fly, I suppose. Though I think him attacking Shiro was an emotional outburst. That wasn't like you at all.
それで少し見方を変えてみたら分かっちゃった。あなた、あの時セイバーを叱ってたんでしょ。
I realized after I looked at it from a different angle. You were scolding Saber back then, right? Mm-hmm. Of a sort. Yes. I think there has been an implication from the start that Archer has a specific eye for Saber. And seems to know what her wish is, I think. He would have to know to be like, hey, your wish is stupid. You stupid. Don't be stupid. Although, how is she going to... I don't know if Rin realizes this, but Archer was trying to catch Saber in the blast when he attacked Berserker. Does Rin understand or know that? And I think I know the reasoning, but it's sort of multi-purposed. I think at first he was just trying to take her out, and then he thought he could maybe reason with her as bits and pieces of his memory maybe come back. Dash 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 ellipses. I mean, I'm so used to dash 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 at this point.
正解？やっぱりね、そうじゃないかと思ってたんだ。前世からの因縁にしろ何にせよ、あんたがあそこまで冷たい態度を取るなんて珍しいもの。
Oh, am I right? I thought so. I don't know if you knew her from your previous life, but it's rare for you to act so coldly.
そうかな。私は誰に対しても
Really?
ああいった対応をしていると思うのだが
I think I act that way towards everyone.
そう思うは本人ばかりってね。思うんだけど、あなたって自分に関することだけは不器用なのよ。周りに対してはすごく器用だから、つい騙されちゃうんだけど。
You're the only one who thinks so. I think you're really clumsy when it comes to anything that concerns you. Everyone's tricked because you're not clumsy towards others. You're really clumsy when it comes to anything that concerns you. I could agree with that. Everyone's tricked because you're not clumsy towards others. Yeah, except for Saber and Shiro, I would say. Archer frowns. He must have been self-conscious of it. The knight in red ponders with a troubled expression, and his master looks at him in pleasure. Oh, that's familiar too. Speaking of familiar, Shiro getting troubled about things and then smiling about it. That's pretty familiar too. Oh, for the YouTube audience, Wise is, making a comparison between Shiro and Archer. But, I've done that plenty already, so. And suddenly, what's the suddenly?
で、そろそろ思い出した？自分がどこの英雄か。セイバーと関係があるなら、セイバーに近い時代の英雄なんでしょ？
Okay, this could be big. So she at this point does not know what hero he is, or if she does, they haven't talked about it and she figured it out herself. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, I suppose. I assumed that Archer, I know when I first got through it, I assumed Archer figured everything out in that instant, and that's why we cut away in the prologue. And Archer would tell Rin after the fact, and we just wouldn't know for a while. But no, Rin never found out, not yet. You remember which hero you are now? If you're related to Saber, you must be a hero from around that age, right? She says so as if testing something. I bet she's testing something because I think she also has the theory that he's Shiro or has some relation. Because that height thing that she said on our date is so suspicious.
いや、もやがかかったままだ。
No, my past is still hazy.
だが、君の言う通り、あのセイバーには覚えがある。あちらは知らないようだから、あまり深い関係ではなかったようだが。
But I do remember Saber as you say. She doesn't seem to know me, so I guess we didn't have a deep connection. I think you had a pretty deep connection, and the reason she doesn't know you is because, you had a growth spurt? You got a tan? Your hair went white? There's some multiple things seem to have happened. White hair through stress?
じゃあ友人とか恋人関係じゃなかったのね。
So I guess you two weren't friends or lovers? They were lovers for a little bit, in a certain timeline.
残念。そうだったらセイバーの正体も分かったのに。
That's too bad. I would have found out Saber's true identity if that were the case. She doesn't sound disappointed. She doesn't sound disappointed. As if what? Does she want it to turn out that he's Shiro? Just because what? That's her prediction. She wants to be right? I mean, wouldn't you normally want him to answer that yes, he does know? Unless you think he's been hiding it all this time and he said something to tip something off? It's just an offhanded remark. Or she's just neutral. She's not disappointed, but she's not necessarily happy. Neutral?
まあ、いずれ思い出すさ。
Well, I'll remember eventually.
それよりリン、連れ込んできた者の様子はどうだ？命に別状はないのか？
Have you never said his name? At least, you're not saying it right now. By the way, Rin, how is the one you brought here doing? Is that one doing fine? Are you talking about Taiga or Shiro? Because you might be talking about Taiga, but if you're talking about Shiro, that's very indirect. In the past, I think you've definitely referred to him by his name. But if this is about Shiro, you're not, you know. I mean, well, I guess it could be about Taiga, but...
うん。なんとか命は取り留めたわ。あいつ、昨日まで怪我を負っても勝手に治ってたくせに、今回の傷は全然治らないのよ。
Okay.
契約が切れたら、セイバーからもらっていた治癒能力がなくなったんでしょうね。
So, I think it can be ambiguous who Archer was referring to, but Rin seemed to have responded at least under the assumption it was Shiro. Which makes sense because she cares more about Shiro. Yeah, he survived. His wounds healed up automatically until yesterday. But this wound isn't healing at all. I think Saber's self-healing powers went away when the contract came to an end. I think that's a misunderstanding. He's always had Avalon in him. The contract breaking might have weakened it, but he had Avalon to heal him a bit even before Saber was summoned. Because that let Lancer's Gabolk not instantly kill him. So I think it is more based on his will, or lack thereof, at the moment. Also, that's interesting. Does that mean there's a bit of a time jump here? His wounds healed up automatically until yesterday. Or, okay, until yesterday, are you saying that... Okay, I misunderstood, I think. Do you mean that this wound from today isn't healing? Or do you mean that he was brought back yesterday, and now it's like the next day? Okay, I don't think that's what they mean. I had to reread that, but... Anyways.
けど、まあなんとかなったわ。幸い急所は外れてたし、3日ほど安静にしていれば食事ぐらいはできるようになる。
But he survived. Fortunately, he didn't get hit in any vital points, so he should be able to get up and eat in about 3 days.
いや、そっちじゃない。もう一人の方だ。
He was referring to Taiga. Okay. Alright. They were ambiguous on purpose then. That makes sense. She assumes he means Shiro because Rin cares about more about Shiro. But Archer thinks Shiro can maybe take care of himself and cares more about the stranger. Makes sense. No, not that one. I meant the other person.
ああ、藤村先生。あの人なら寝室で寝かせてあるわ。キャスターの眠りの魔術を受けているけど、本人はすっごく元気よ。
I'm almost a little
処置は
upset
してきた
that
から1週間眠り続けても支障はないわ。
Rin name dropped her. Because Archer shouldn't know her name. So that would make sense that he wouldn't use it. Although, if he at some point calls her Taiga, then that's still a name drop, but it's unlikely for him to... It would be, I think, out of character with his cynical self to call her Taiga unless he was really pushed in a weird spot. Huh? Oh, Fujimura-sensei? I let her sleep in the guest room. Cast used a sleeping magic on her, so she's still doing really well. I did treat her, so it shouldn't be a problem even if she sleeps for a week. Oh, okay, it's gonna make her sleep that long, huh? Maybe within a week we'll have this resolved and she'll be back in her own house. Wouldn't that be convenient?
そうか。だが、キャスターの魔術なら眠り姫になりかねないな。あの女のそれは魔術というより呪いだ。
I see, but she
解
might...
決するには本人を倒すのが手っ取り早い。
She might turn into a sleeping beauty with Caster's magic. That woman's spells are more like curses. The simplest way to dispel her is to kill Caster. Rin got the mind magic anyway, so snip snap. I guess. It still takes an extra amount of effort that hopefully she wouldn't have to use. I think it'd be easier to give some kind of excuse about why Taiga's staying over than have to waste magical energy on messing with her mind, but... Because I assume Taiga doesn't remember getting abducted by Caster. If she does, then yeah, some mind messing is in order, but...
そうね。どの道聖杯戦争も長くは続かない。一日でも早くキャスターは倒すし、藤村先生ならひょっこり自力で起きそうだし。
Yes, either way the Holy Grail won't last much longer. We're gonna beat Caster as fast as possible, and knowing Fujimura-sensei, she might wake up on her own. You think it won't last much longer? I mean, as far as we know, it's still only one servant down. And even if it's like Caster, Assassin, and Saber all on one side, It's you still have Lancer and Berserker running around and Gilly, even though you don't realize it. So I feel like it's a bit premature to be like it won't last much longer. Maybe in the sense that things are winding down, everyone seems to know about everyone else, but that's not even entirely true because you don't know Lancer's master, and you aren't following up on Shinji at all, I suppose. But you haven't followed up on Ilia. I mean, I guess you could assume Ilia's doing her own things, but again, that feels like you have to be making assumptions at that point. Anyways, she might wake up on her own. It is Fujimura, that's true. She is quite the tiger. Archer nods. What, as if he agrees that she's that kind of person? How would you know what kind of person she is? And after a brief pause in the conversation...
キャスター退治が最優先だな。マスターが一人減ったとはいえ、セイバーは健在だ。余裕はないぞ、リン。
Beating Caster comes first. Even though there is one less Beating Caster comes first. Even though there is one less master now, Saber still exists. We do not have time to spare, Rin. And also, I don't know if Shiro even technically counts as not a master. I think it's debatable because if Caster used her magic to swap the contract between Saber Shiro to Saber Caster, then it's possible there could be a reswap. Also, I think if you're a master, I think there's like a rule that if you're a master, you can still take spells from other masters, even if you run out of command spells. I'm not sure if once you lose your last one, if there's like a severance or anything. I don't know. But I'd assume... I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they've already clarified that if you lose your last one, you can't even steal other people's spells. But if they haven't said that, then I would assume you could. And if you can't, then I think they should have told you that you can't. But anyways, we don't have time to spare, Rin.
分かってる。すぐに町に出るわ。
I know. We'll go out to town immediately. And so, what are you going to do about Shiro? You're just going to leave him here and hope he's okay? I guess that's fine as long as losing your last command spell means that you're not even able to take command spells and, you know, continue being a master anymore. But if you can still be a master continually, then I think it's risky to leave Shiro, but I guess what are you going to do? Who could babysit him at this point? You might just have to take that risk. You could bring him to the church and Kirei, you know, but obviously there's several reasons that's not okay. But even without knowing all those reasons, I can see why you'd assume it's not okay. We'll go out to town immediately.
いくらキャスターでもセイバーを完全に支配するには時間がかかるはず。できればセイバーが操られる前にキャスターを倒さないと。
Even Caster should take some time to completely control Saber. If possible, we have to beat Caster before Saber is fully controlled. Okay. They've really built up Caster at this point. Now that she's stolen Saber, that's such a big move. I really do think Caster is built up as the big final boss of this pathway. Which means I think we are going to deal with the Shinji and Ilia stuff first. If Caster isn't the final villain at this point, I would assume it is Ilia, but then they're kind of leaving her for a long time. She could be doing something in the background, but I don't know, that seems iffy to me. Especially with how much they've set up Caster. We have to beat Caster before Saber is fully controlled.
了解だ。では、あの小僧との契約もここまでだな。
Alright, so the contract about that kid ends here, huh? I still don't want you hurting him though, Archer. Huh? Because, yeah, is he technically still count as a master even without spells? How does this work? Can he steal someone else's spells? Is that still something he can do, technically?
ではない。エミヤシロはマスターではないのだろう。
Emiya Shiro's not a master anymore, right?
ならば戦力にはならんし、わざわざ守ってやる必要もない。君が使った2つ目の霊樹は、これで解約ということだ。
And he'll be of no help, and there will be no need to protect him. The second command spell can be lifted off me now, right? I see what Archer's saying. After Caster used Taiga against Shiro, it's very possible that as long as Shiro is, you know, in doubt and injured and stuff, Caster could turn around, and if we leave him alone and aren't careful, could turn around and turn Shiro into a hostage to use against Rin. So I think it makes a lot of sense practically for Archer to be clear about this point now. if you care about protecting him. Because if you do, we need to make sure the same shit doesn't happen that happened with Shiro and Taiga. That is a very fair point, I would say. Dash, 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 dash.
どうした？まさか共に戦ったよしみで面倒を見るなどというのではなかろうな。
Don't tell me you'll take care of him because he cooperated with you. I don't think, I mean, not only would she probably want to take care of him because of her honor of paying back debts and all that, but also, like, she loves him and stuff, so she definitely would not be okay with that.
まさかそこまでお人よしじゃないわ。
Of course not. I'm not that good a person. And now this is when you follow up by saying, that's not why I will protect him. We'll protect him because I love him.
なら
Then,
けどまだ終わってない。あいつが自分から降りるっていうまで約束は破らない。
fair. But it's not over yet. I won't break the promise until he himself says he's out of this war. Fair, fair, fair.
私は突っぱねるけど、あいつが参ったっていうまでは終わらせちゃいけないんだから。
Okay, so I think the implication here is that yes, you can still be a master even without any spells, so you can still always potentially steal them, I think. I'll try to get him out, but we can't end it until he gives up. She declares stubbornly. It's a pretty Sun way of it's a pretty roundabout way of doing it, but I guess if it's technically true, then it works. If it's technically true, then it works. Seems like a very Sun approach to most situations, I would suppose. She declares stubbornly. What can he reply to that?
それが私の方針よ。文句ある？あーちゃん。
That's my course of action. Do you have any objections, Archer?
仕方あるまい。君がそういう人間だということは
It can't be
言いたいほど
helped.
分かっている。
I'm fully aware that you're like that. His voice sounds cynical. When does it not? She just laughs it off and makes an order.
行くわよあーちゃん。どうしてか知らないけど、キャスターは竜道寺に戻っていない。
How do you know that? Let's go, Archer. I don't know why, but Castor isn't back at the Rito Temple. Do you know that just because you're just generally good magic sense and because Castor is so strong? Because here's the thing. If Castor is so strong that you can just sense and know and know that you don't feel her at the Rito Temple, I guess you weren't trying while you were on your date. But like, follow-up point, if it's only when you're trying, then as soon as you were coming back from the date and you noticed that the boundary field was gone, isn't your follow-up in your head, where is Castor, if you can turn it on? If it's not something you can turn on, then how did you have like a link as soon as you got in and sensed Castor in the room? You kept your beat on that link, and that's why you're able to sense it. How would you know? How would you know? I don't understand how you know. Also, she said it was her shadow anyways, right? That she wasn't really there, it was just a projection. If my understanding is correct, unless that was a lie. But if that's a lie and you could tell that's a lie all along, again, because you're sensing her, you should have said that at the instant you got there, and since the boundary field was wrong, you're like, wait, who is this? And Castor, oh, she's in there, not at the Rita Temple. So I don't know how she theoretically knows this. I don't get it.
なら、探し出して戻る前に倒しましょう。
Then let's find her and defeat her before she goes back to the temple. How do you even know she's not at the temple? Whatever. There's no need to answer. The knight in red nods and follows his master. She maybe noticed that the flow of souls stopped going to the temple. Did the flow of souls stop at the, I mean, okay, I don't know. Maybe there is something there where she might have noticed that souls weren't flowing but didn't necessarily know Castor wasn't. That's an assumption in that case. If she noticed the soul stopped flowing, that doesn't mean she's not at the temple. It could be that she's doing something else now that she has Saber, or she has to divert her attention or something. So that's just an assumption at that point, in which case I would like her to make it clear that that's her assumption. Which, yes, Rin does assume a lot, but at least tell me when you're assuming things so I know that. The knight in red nods and follows his master. Gloomy clouds are still overhead. A moonless night. She departs with Archer to take aim at her target. Interlude out. So does that mean we get to sulk Shiro now? You want more exposition? Yeah? Always. Feels like I just got punched. Always more exposition. I like things to logically make sense. I generally don't mind over exposition as long as it doesn't feel like fluff. And I feel like I like knowing what people are thinking. And if I don't know what they're thinking, I like it to be easy to assume to know what they're thinking. And in the sense where when someone's like, oh, I know X, I'd like to know how they know X, or at least, I don't know, especially if it's important for her plan. And yes, her plan is, let's go out and stop before she gets out to the temple. Why do you know she's not at the temple? I don't know. I like knowing things. It feels like I just got punched. Ugh. Like, I'd be willing to make the assumption, a routine of these streams. Storm, so you want X? Renegade, yes! I'd be willing to make the assumption that she can just know if she can, like, flick the switch on, but, that goes against the idea that she knows the boundary field was down, and yet still didn't seem to notice that, oh, canister's inside, I flicked the switch on. So I'd like to know, you know, depending on the circumstances, I'm willing to make certain assumptions, but in these circumstances, I don't know what the right assumption is here. I don't see how any of them work. Ugh. I wake up from the pain in my shoulder. My body's still there. Oh, that's good. I feel my limbs and hear my own breathing. Okay. And then you're going to be like, oh, that's right, I'm okay. And then you're going to be like, oh, that's right, Saber got taken away. And then we're going to have the BSOD. There's bandage wrapped around my shoulder. And the bed I'm in is soft. Huh? This place is... Kokodoko? I don't know. Arayada. That's wrong. That is not... Nope. Nope. Wakanayo. That's better. And someone said...
ここまでね。シロはもう戦わなくて。
This is it. You don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to. But he's gonna want to. Or he's not. If he doesn't want to, that's a bad sign. I get up. I remember everything and jump up from the bed. Ooh, the static is an interesting touch. That suggests some weird magical hormones are going on in his body. Maybe the idea is that the Avalon is like sort of trying to work, but then his will isn't there, so it's not working right, so it feels weird. Or his sword blades, that is his body, is trying to make himself work, but then it's going at odds with the Avalon, which isn't really working, and so maybe there's like a in his system. I don't know. Pain causes my back to urge. Could also just be normal pain, and I'm thinking too much into it, but, you know, that's my thing. Ugh! I feel my left shoulder. It's burning hot. It feels much worse than a pulled muscle. No, I'm lucky that my arm is still attached after a sword went through it, but it still hurts. It hurts bad. I slowly get out of bed. I can bear this pain if I grit my teeth. Okay, so you're being active. You're not just sulking in bed and being like, oh, I'm just going to stay here and wallow and die. You're being active. I suppose this makes sense because Saber in your mind can theoretically still be saved. Also, you probably want to confirm that Taiga's okay. But once you confirm Taiga's okay, and then you reconfirm that Saber is gone, will you still react so actively? Then... Ooh. Dash, dash. It gets worse? This does not feel like it's just pain. This static feels important, I think. Feels like magic pain. The heat in my shoulder reaches my head. Yeah, this definitely feels like magic pain. I shake it off and move my legs.
誰もいないのか。
No, one's here. There shouldn't be anyone. I remember Tosaka's words. She said those words and left. So she went to fight by herself. Oh, that's it too. She has to help Tosaka out. She can't let her do it. Let him do it alone. The hero instinct is still there. That's good. That's healthy. But what about when he realizes, So far he's being healthy about this, I would say, to an extent. She went to fight by herself. It's still debatable how healthy it is if he's just doing it because he thinks, oh, there's someone else to save without actually thinking about the long term of what will happen in the moment if he's forced to make another choice, like Taiga, Saber, and all that. If he doesn't even bother thinking about that and just ignores it and moves on, that's not really healthy either. I head to the door. For now, I think it's more just ignoring and moving on than it is actually healthily getting over it, but I have to go outside. I have to go find Tosaka. Yeah, if this was Fate Shiro, he would have just sulked, like, after the date. Yeah. But this Shiro, this version of Shiro is a little more confident, just a bit. I fall. I almost collapse and support myself using the dresser. If this was Fate Shiro, I don't think he would have made that choice. I think he would have cared too much about Saber to make that choice. He might have still tried to save Taiga, but I think he would have done it differently and ultimately been willing to sacrifice Taiga if it meant saving Saber. I think it's debatable, and it depends on how far into the pathway they were, but I think in that pathway at least, his priorities would have placed Saber over Taiga. I think it's debatable if his priorities here place Rin over Taiga or not. I still think he probably overvalues Taiga over Rin in this timeline because I don't think he has not narrowed quite so hard in on Rin as he did on Saber in the other timeline. He has decently, but I still think he would value Taiga more at this point. I almost collapse and support myself using the dresser. Oh, and there's even reason to think that he values Taiga more, because when he said to himself, if Rin makes a move internally, he didn't say the word, but he was like, if Rin makes a move, I'll kill her. I almost collapse and support myself using the dresser. It's useless. Mudada. I fall along with the dresser. Oh no, not Rin's dresser. Sorry, I made a mess, Tosaka. Interesting that he seems to have initiative, and yet his Avalon healing is lacking. It could be because the Saber flow is a little cut. However, it might be more because he's ignoring the truth of the situation. And as a result of that, even though he knows it and doesn't really have the will, he's just sort of pretending that he has the will. But he doesn't really have the will, and the Avalon knows that. It's like, you're cheating, you don't really have the will. But I made a mess, Tosaka. I pick up the scattered stuff. Are? What is it? What's up? What are you picking up? He did mention he's surprised he didn't lose the arm. Fair. Maybe Avalon was working a bit. It was working enough to keep him from fully dying. He might have let himself fully die in the other pathway. If a situation like that had occurred, though I don't think he would have let that occur in quite that way. In timeline 1. Huh? I find something familiar. Oh, yeah, this is the necklace. This is the jewel that she used in the prologue to save your life. You wouldn't have really been awake when it happened, though. So, what's up? You say it's familiar, so although you did remember it somewhat, you seem to have hazy memories of it, but would you have really remembered this? Maybe it stuck out to you.
これどこかで
I think I saw this before. Yeah. Okay. Is this gonna make you put a bunch of dots together or something, or? I saw it somewhere. Uh-huh. Yeah, it was like this back then as well. Like this back when? When you were healed? When you were healed, it was more full of energy, right? The night I got pierced by Lancer. Okay, we are talking about the same thing. The fatal wound was healed before I knew it. There was something I picked up when I left the hallway with a tired body. What? 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 It's hot. Wait, what? Wait. There was something I picked up when I left the hallway with a tired body. Wait, you don't mean this pendant? You don't mean this pendant, because... Wait. Archer gave that pendant back to Rin, at least in the prologue. Is the prologue now defunct? Because in the prologue, Archer gets attacked. The prologue is theoretically Timeline 1's prologue. So Archer gets attacked, but then we do Timeline 2, that we stop that from happening. So the prologue, in the sense of Archer getting attacked, is defunct. Is the change in the future influencing the past? Are we that kind of visual novel? Is it not just that is defunct about the prologue now, but other things from before the split that we didn't see? You picked up the pendant. Did Rin never get the pendant back in its timeline? And we just didn't know? But Archer went back for it. So he would have went back for it regardless of the timeline. He never found it? Did he care? Oh, right, no, that's right. He couldn't have picked up this thing because Archer had to have gotten it and given it to Rin, so it had to have still happened because it's here and it's unique, right? Wait. We got some timeline fuckery going on or something? Is this somehow a result of how he seems to be chronologically come from Timeline 1? That there's 2 of these pendants? Is that relevant? Is there 2 of these pendants? I mean, I think that's the strong implication here. If he did pick it up and he kept it, Ren wouldn't still have it here. Okay. Wait, okay. It's hot. The poison in my shoulder gets to my brain and makes me dizzy. Okay, hold on. Let's actually theorize about this for a second. Because I've been assuming mental time travel this whole time. Mental time travel should not give him a second pendant. Unless he always had the second pendant in Timeline 1 and we just never knew. I guess it's also possible. That still means something weird's going on regardless, though. It should be a unique heirloom. Rin leaves it at the scene and leaves. Shiro picks it up. Does it cause the split? Does the heirloom cause the split? Because after, well, I don't know. It's all happens at the same time. He picks up the heirloom. Saber is summoned. He's attacked. All this stuff kind of happens in quick succession towards the split, where Shiro uses the command spell and stops Saber from attacking Archer. If he picks up the heirloom, Archer goes back for it and has the heirloom anyway. Maybe he always picks up the heirloom. Oh, okay. This is foreshadowing that Shiro is Archer from the future, right? Archer, okay. Shiro picks up the heirloom when he's not really thinking. That means Archer's been lying the whole time and knows, though, right? Isn't that what it has to mean? Because if Shiro picks up the heirloom and just keeps it, and he just keeps keeping it, and Archer is Shiro in the future, and Archer sees that the pendant isn't there, but Archer has the pendant, or put the dots together or something, and then pulled out his own pendant, which is his pendant because he had it with him ever since this time in the past, and then gives it to Rin, so Rin now has it in the present, but Rin's one in the present is from Archer in the future when he kept it from being Shiro in the past, which is now? So that's what this is, right? That makes sense in my brain. Okay, so it can still be mental time travel then. This is just Archer's physical time travel creating two heirlooms. The poison in my shoulder gets to my brain and makes it dizzy. He did say Rin shouldn't act so tough. This means that Archer has to have known, though. Right? He has to have known something, because he would have seen Rin with the pendant on before. And he would have had the pendant. And then he would have had the pendant. He would have seen Rin with the pendant. He should have made some kind of mental connection immediately. And then, okay, so he makes the mental connection. And then, yeah, Rin goes and uses it. And then Archer, does he remember that he picked it up? And so he gives it to Rin? That means he knew all along, right? Even if he didn't fully remember, he knew to some extent there was some, unless he thought he just had another copy of the same pendant and was like, oh, don't pretend, here's the same pendant, but he actually thinks it's a different pendant? Was he pretending to did he actually think it was a different pendant when he gave it to her, but he's like, oh, I'll pretend it's the same pendant? Either he always knew, or he just saw that she had it and didn't want her to feel like she lost it, and he didn't know where the pendant went, so he's like, okay, here, just take the pendant, Rin. If Archer always knew, that recolors everything. I don't know, maybe he really did just think that there's two. She said it was an heirloom. She would have stated that it was a family heirloom. Okay. The poison in my shoulder gets to my... Wait, he always knew? Wait, what? But he attacks Shiro. If he always knows, okay, maybe he doesn't always know, but he knows that there's some connection, but doesn't know everything? Maybe he doesn't know. Okay, he can know there's some connection, but not know everything. He can know he's from the future and still be trying to piece it together. Okay, I think that's more likely. I don't think he knows everything, because I don't see him attacking Shiro at the temple the way he did if he knew everything. Yeah, I think he figured out he's from the future, but I don't think he figured out he's Shiro. Yeah, that sounds correct to me. I don't think it makes sense, all of his actions, if he knew all along. The poison in my shoulder gets to my brain and makes me dizzy.
そうだ。これ、あの時のと同じだ。
Yeah, this is the same one. I know, but my mind does not think. Like the thing I dismissed as a dream. Like whose servant was fighting Lancer at that time. Maybe I was one of Rin's descendants. Maybe that's what Archer thought. Yeah. Whose servant was fighting Lancer at the time? Maybe that's why Shiro was so drawn to the fight. Like who could have saved me and who could have been there at that time? I know my mind does not think, like the thing I dismissed as a dream. Whose servant was fighting Lancer? Who could have saved me and who could have been there at that time? Okay. So it's all coming together. The crack theory that Shiro is Archer seems almost confirmed at this point. Wow. When did I have that crack theory? Oh man, wow. It was very early on I had that theory. Oh. It was crack though. It was very crack. But I started to really think it was real early on into this timeline, though, because of the parallels that were being drawn between Shiro and Archer. Like how Archer shoots swords, and how Shiro's kind of an archer, and Shiro sword births, and Archer seems to shoot swords that are sword birthed. That was where I think I was really like, there might be something here. But I know in Timeline 1, it was just sort of a, you're an archer, Shiro's an archer, you're given a pep talk, and you seem kind of like Kiritsugu. Maybe you're like Archer Shiro from the future. I was mostly just threw it out there as a joke, but I think that's roughly how it started. Who could have saved me, and who could have been there at the time? Oh, that's great. That's so cool. There's no need to think about it. My head is spinning.
Kuso. 一つ貸しだとか借りだとか言っておいて、こんなの絶対に返せない借りじゃないか。
Damn. She talked about owing me and all, but this is something I can never pay back. But you don't need to pay it back. Because you kept it. Or rather, she has it and you kept it. Maybe you're going to delude yourself into thinking that somehow she got it back and that it's not at your house anymore. I feel dizzy. Okay, so what's the mental time travel then? The physical time travel of the heirloom makes sense if Archer just had it in the future because he kept it with him because it mattered that much to him. But where does the mental time travel come from? Is that a Shiro thing? Is that because of the Grail? Is there something else causing it? He must have been really attached to the pendant. Oh, for sure. There's then the question of why he gets so attached to the pendant. I guess it makes sense if... Maybe if this has a really bad ending and Rin fucking dies a horrible death, if they want to be super bitter in every timeline till the last one. Timeline 1's kind of bitter at the end. A little. Bittersweet. Timeline 2, if they want to get extra bitter, they might do it that way. I feel dizzy. My head's messed up from pain, heat, and self-deprecation. At least this is one way to distract him from how much he hates himself. Okay. I move my legs. I have to look for her. I have something I want to tell her, and there's something she needs to know. So how does Rin know, or theorize? Because she dropped the height comment during the date. Does she realize? Maybe she realizes because when she was at Shiro's house, maybe she investigated and found the duplicate pendant. And then she was like, wait, what the fuck? There should only be one of these. And maybe that's how she started putting the pieces together? I assume for her it's just a theory at the moment, but that would be a way for the theory to start. For sure. There's something she needs to know. That's all I can think about with this Desi head. There's something she needs to know. What does she need to know exactly? It's not even about Saber, it's about Rin. It's not even about saving Saber, it's about making sure Rin's okay. My senses return in front of the station. The pendant and the dreams is a strong combination of evidence. My hazy head is moving based on a vague image. Now we just need Ryder to turn out to be Castor all along, and the world is correct. Doesn't really work though anymore because, I mean, it still could work, but it doesn't really work now that we've actually seen that Castor has an official master, but that could be a fake out. The only reason that I'm not really on board with that theory anymore is that I don't see why she'd bother to pretend at this point. But, I don't know what the purpose behind the whole act would be, and where's the extra Ryder and or Castor? So that's why I'm kind of like, nah, it's probably not true. It made a lot of sense in Timeline 1, but unlike the Archer theory, it definitely fell apart when Timeline 2 hit. When my senses return, I'm in front of the station. My hezzy head is moving based on a vague image. That she's there. It orders me to go there if I'm to look for her. Yeah, this is a song. It's like a notable, important song. I forget when it normally plays. Oh, it played during the intro. This song played during the intro. I remember that. She's there. It orders me to go there if I'm to look for her. Where is there exactly, Shiro? Where are you going? My senses return in front of the station, moving based on a vague image. Oh, do you think she's on top of the tower again, scouting things out, or what? If I'm supposed to have, if I'm supposed to have a clear idea of where there is, I don't. I apologize. I don't know why I'm directed here. My boiling head is only thinking about this building. This was the building. On top of this building is where Saber and Ryder fought in Timeline 1. Then I can only follow my instincts. I didn't have any way to look for Tosaka from the start. So I can only cling to this thing. I thought you'd go back to the school, like the source or whatever. I guess not. You're not worried about that right now. I get to the rooftop. The wind blowing here is even colder and cools down my heated brain.
あんた、なんで?
Why are you here? She was here. How did he know? Because of his servant-master connection? Because there's being a vague connection between Archer and Rin because of the servant-master connection there. If assuming Shiro's having these super awesome powers because of a bleed-through from Archer in the future, if it is the bleed-through effect, then some kind of bleed-through servant-master connection might be there too, and that's why he might know where Rin is subconsciously. I could see that. This was the first time I also think Shiro saw the real Rin on top of the skyscraper. I suppose, but it's very vague to go there just based on that. Why are you here? I hear someone gasp. Tosaka is looking down at the town from here, like that one night.
帰りなさい。何のつもりか知らないけど、目障りよ、あなた。
Go home. I don't know what you want to do, but you're an eyesore. She expresses her anger and stares at me. Behind her. He is standing there, telling me silently that I'm of no use. Maybe that is the change in Timeline 3. Maybe we just take out Archer from the war immediately. That could happen if Shiro is able to maintain more of this idea of what is really going on through the mental time travel. If Archer is just an unfortunate future version where he went down a bad road, Archer may agree to just put him out of his misery and then continue on, actually being the hero, saving other problems that he wasn't in the past, like what the fuck is fucked up with Sakura, and her whole situation. As an example, maybe saving Ilya from her trauma fully. And, maybe Ayako, she might have some trauma. I don't know. She went missing with Shinji and we still haven't gotten back to that. What the fuck's that about? He's standing there telling me silently that I am of no use.
帰らない。戻るときは遠坂とだ。一緒に戦うって約束しただろう、俺たちは。
I won't go home. When I do, it'll be with you. We promised to fight together, right? Woof. He's just focused on Rin. Even though Saber left him, he's just focused on making sure Rin doesn't have to go at it alone. Wow, that really shows the priority has changed, for sure, from Timeline 1. I mean, I get it, but there was something of a tomfuckery in his mind based on the Taiga versus Rin Maybe Saber versus Rin, and maybe he knows Saber's okay. Or maybe because he was so concerned about Taiga, now that he's Taiga's okay, he thinks about who do I be concerned with next, and his mind goes to Rin first. I can see that, even if Saber's theoretically in the worst position. When I do, it'll be with you. We promised to fight together, right? I collect my hazy mind and move my lips.
そんな約束忘れなさい。だいたい今のあなたに何ができるっていうのよ。セイバーを失ったあなたにマスターの相手は務まらない。
Forget about that promise. First of all, what can you do? Without Saber, you're no match for any master. Did you forget about my sword birth? You're lying. Forget about that promise. You don't want me to get hurt, of course. I've already been hurt enough, I suppose. But, no, I can definitely help.
それは
That's...
それにあなたが戦う必要なんてもうないわ。
There's the real feelings. And there's no need for you to fight.
マスターじゃなくなったんだから教会に逃げ込めば安全よ。あとはおとなしくしていれば聖杯戦争は終わってくれる。
You're not a master anymore, so you'll be safe if you run to the church. You just need to stay there, and the Holy Grail War will come to an end. There's problems with that suggestion, though I guess it's fair that you don't know what those are. Dash, dash. I almost fainted her words. And hey, Rin, you didn't go to the church in the other timeline, you freaking hypocrite. I guess you can't know that, but hypocrite.
バカ言うな。セイバーをあのままにしておけるか。
Oh, okay, now you bring Saber into it. Don't be stupid! I can't leave Saber like that!
いいか、一度戦うと言ったんだ。なら、どんなことになったって最後まで
Look, I said I'll fight, so I'll fight until the very end. Ooh, my vision turns red. Oh boy, something's really jumbling around inside of you. I can't talk. Just yelling makes my muscles cramp up and I almost die. Ooh, he's really exerting himself more than he should be. I think there's some magical wamble going on, but I think it's also just, he should be resting right now if his Avalon isn't doing the job.
それ見なさい。今まではセイバーの助けがあったけど、なくなればそうなるのよ。
See? You had Saber's help until now, but that's how it is once you don't have her help.
いい？エミヤ君。
Ooh.
人間は傷つけば死ぬの。あなたのその傷だって本来なら致命傷なんだから。
You went to Emiya-kun. You're trying to distance yourself again. Interesting. To save him, you're going to try to distance yourself? Because you want to protect him. Look, Emiya-kun. People normally die when they are killed. Yes! We double timed on that meme. Your wound should be fatal, you know. But it isn't because he's magic. Damn. I know that. I know, but it's so painful that I can't speak.
それにセイバーが
And
ど
you
うの
talk
こう
about
のって言う
Saber
けど、
and all.
それはあなたが気にかける問題じゃないわ。
But it's not a problem of yours. Well, he's making it a problem, baby. Also, yes, it is. He's going to consider it. This is where he says, it's my fault. Because, that whole Taiga situation.
エミヤ君はマスターじゃなくなったんだから、セイバーがどうなろうと関係ないでしょ。
Okay, come on, Rin. You have to know how he's going to respond to that. You're not a master anymore, so it shouldn't concern you what happens to Saber. Dash, 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 dash. It does concern me. All the more if Saber has helped me with pain like this up until now. Good point.
違う。マスターでなくてもだ。
No, even if I'm not a master. We didn't have to have a big talk like this when Archer died. We just both casually agreed, yeah, Rin, I guess is gonna just keep helping me. And we were just okay with it. I think, even though Shiro would have wanted to protect Rin I think that Shiro was still distancing the friendly life from the actual fighty life, and hadn't considered the dark possibility of something that bad actually happening to Rin. You know, ignoring the ugly possible truths, just wanting to keep Rin in his life. So never even suggesting, oh, go to the church. But there's also the fact that he deep down thought something gross was going on at the church the whole time anyways. But we definitely didn't need to have the conversation on your end, Rin. So, hypocrite. Even if I'm not a master.
セイバーは嫌がっていた。あんな奴の言いなりになんてさせられ。
Saber didn't want it. I can't have her be controlled.
そう。けどあなたは無力よ。
I see, but you're powerless.
いいわ。あなたが認めようとしないのなら、代わりに私が言ってあげる。
Fine. If you don't want to admit it yourself, I'll tell you. Tell me what? What are you telling me? What do you gotta tell me? What kind of law you gotta lay down, Rin?
今のあなたじゃ、セイバーを助けることなんてできない。
You can't save Saber as you are now. Well, you're probably right. However, counterpoint, I just have to will myself to heal more, right? I'll get on that. You just do your thing for a little bit, and I'll heal in the background, and we can just switch to your perspective for a bit. Then when I'm better, I'll help you. I guess the problem with that plan is someone could attack me at your place. However, if you're worried about that, then fucking protect me. I don't know. I guess she makes good arguments, but dash. My heart disappears. Or my heat. My heart disappears would be much worse. You can't save Saber as you are now. The heat disappears. That means he's becoming more resolute? Her cold words freeze my boiling brain. Oh, never mind. That is not more resolute.
話はここまでよ。
That's all.
セイバーはいなくなってマスターでもなくなった。
You lost Saber and you're not a master anymore. Rin, you need to be really careful about this. I don't know if you understand how fragile Shiro's mental state is. If he was to if this was, Timeline 1 Shiro, if he was forced to not go after this kind of stuff, I know you're trying to protect him, but I think you're failing to protect him from himself, because I think suicide was definitely on the table in Timeline 1. In Timeline 2, I don't think it is, but I think it could there's still potential is there.
聖杯戦争なんていう殺し合いに巻き込まれる理由はなくなったんだから、ここでシロは降りなさい。
There's no reason for you to be involved in this massacre, so you can forfeit here, Shiro. I get what she's doing, but she just has not read Shiro well if she thinks this is the best way to protect him. Tosaka turns and walks off. Oh! Oh, whoa! She jumps off and she's gonna have Archer catch her or something? Poof! I guess we won't be able to follow her very easy like that. Oh, that's a nice image. It's a good one. My graphics are still borked last time I checked, so... Ooh. Fancy rooftop rim image. There's another Rin image I never saved. I know where the save point is. It's close to it, though. I might go back and get that later. But anyways, fancy rooftop Rin image. Make my own graphics section. Dash. Amidst the blowing winds. Tosaka kicks the ground without any hesitation. You idiot! Oh, what are you thinking? I reach out frantically. Dash. If Shiro doesn't make the connection right now, he's going to feel really bad about this because he wants to be Rin's partner. But Archer is Rin's real partner. Of course, Archer's Shiro, but I don't think Shiro has, gotten to that mental state yet. So he's just going to feel like he's losing her to him, and he's going to, be even more resentful because of this. He lost Saber, who was supposed to be his partner, And now his partner that he wants, and that the only partner he has left, Rin, is being taken away from him. And that will not put him in a good mental place, I don't think. Dash, dash. There's no need for that. He hates Archer too much to fully connect it. I mean, I think it's, because of the connection that maybe somewhere deep down he knows is part of why he hates it. Possibly. Because Shiro would never want to see himself as being like Archer in the future. It's the track that plays when you start the game. I remember that, Van Storm. I don't know the name of the track or anything, but it is definitely the track that plays when you start the prologue. It's this song that plays. I think of it as the I was struck. It was a thrust like lightning song, but I don't know its actual name. There's no need for that. The knight in red appears next to Tosaka as if protecting her. Even if she jumps off from this height, she should be able to land without a problem if she has her servant. Future me can future fuck himself. I mean, yeah. That'll be a problem for future me. Dash, dash. Tosaka's lips move slightly. Maybe Rin's perspective is if she has a theory right now that Archer is Shiro in the future, maybe she thinks, and that means I just have to keep Shiro safe, and I know nothing bad will happen to him. He won't die or something. He'll definitely grow up to be Archer. However, I think that is short-sighted. This could very much be a case where Shiro does die in several endings, but all it takes is one ending where Shiro grows up and makes himself a hero, and that will establish him as a hero throughout probably multiple timelines, and not just whichever one it was. So I think Rin's logic, if she's using that logic, is a mistake. It's a fair logic, but but I don't think she's understanding correctly if that is her logic. Tosaka's lips move slightly. I can't hear what she said. But her eyes. Her eyes, they say it all. Those beautiful blue eyes that show the truth of her personality, that she's actually, a softie. The red exterior isn't the truth of her. The blue is the truth of the Rin. Ooh. And then what color are Archer's eyes again? I forget exactly. Can't really get a best look here. Actually, of course, status. Archer. They're kind of brown. But it'd be fitting, I guess in a way, Rin has the exterior of red and the interior of blue. And I think Shiro gives sort of a blue exterior, which is fitting with Saber being blue, but a more red interior. Anyways, I can't hear what she said, but her eyes. You'll die if you keep involving yourself. They did state in the Fate route that the Throne of Heroes exists out of time. Yeah. I mean, we've seen bad endings where Shiro has died. I don't know, maybe some of them, the idea, theoretically, could be they cut out right before he dies, so we don't see it happen, so maybe he doesn't die? But I think the idea is that, yeah, he dies in some endings. He just needs one where he grows up and accepts himself into the Grail as a hero for this version of Archer to exist, I would say. Deep Slumber is apparently the name of that track. Fitting. You'll die if you keep involving yourself. Coldly tell me so, as if it's the last warning. I still think you need to ignore that warning, Shiro. I think that if you accept that warning and never look into it, you're just going to... And if Saber doesn't get saved, maybe Archer and Rin can just save Saber anyway, and he can have a nice farewell. But that's, I think, a little optimistic. And if it doesn't happen, and if he never gets a chance to properly say goodbye to Saber before the end, as it were, and never finds out, the truth of Archer, and Rin just goes on to whatever, I think that he's just leading down a very bad future life. Coldly tells me so, as if it's the last warning. So I think we do need to move forward at this point. the big question is, if Rin's abandoning us, how? We could maybe try to go, I don't know. If Shiro has some idea of the time travel and knows Ilya could be potentially persuaded, he could maybe go down that angle. I think Shinji is a very awkward cause. I think there's a Sakura plot twist, but I think they're saving it for timeline 3. So I don't know what Shiro does from here. If he tries to go it alone... There's a couple different ways this can go forward. He could try to go alone, get in trouble, and Rin saves him. That is the cheater's way out, in my opinion. I feel like Rin is making a firm declaration here, and I think Shiro needs to prove himself without Rin before they can team up again. However, proving himself without Rin, I think, is going to be tough without getting someone else on his side, which creates a big question of who. If I had to think, the most realistic allies at the moment for Shiro to make would be either Ilya, if he can somehow, you know, especially if Gilgamesh is going after Ilya, if he can somehow save her before, and maybe save Berserker before anything really bad happens there. Maybe he can deal with the Shinji situation while Rin and Archer are fighting the Castor situation. Maybe Shiro inserts himself to the Gilgamesh versus Ilya situation and helps out Ilya, and they fight against Shinji before going back on the Castor situation. That's one idea. Another idea that just popped in my head is, what if Shiro teams up with Lancer? If Shiro can convince Lancer that Kirei is a douche and that he's not actually of the right mind, Shiro might be able to temporarily get Lancer as his servant, which would be a really funny full circle, because Lancer's the one who, you know, stabbed him at the very beginning. But I could see it being something that could happen potentially. Shiro would again need some amount of knowledge, though, for such a convincing to work. Otherwise, Lancer has no real reason to turn on Kirei. I think those are the two most likely allies, would be Ilya or Lancer, though, based on those circumstances. Coldly tells me so, as if it's the last warning. Dash, 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 dash. My heart returns. Heat returns. Why do I keep reading that as heart? The heat and the pain make my mind go crazy. H-E-A-T. I see those and my mind just jumps to heart. I don't know. I just have to take the next step to go, wait, there's no R there. Of course, it's because it's a Japanese visual novel, and R doesn't exist in the Japanese language. Wait, no, other way around. L doesn't exist. Anyways. The heat and the pain make my mind go crazy. I cannot save Saber. And there's no reason for Emiya Shiro to fight. Then what reason is there for him to live? Dash, dash. Oh, I mean, that's a dashing. My wound hurts. Of course it's gonna hurt. Your will just got a big hit. So any amount of healing that Avalon's been giving you to actually get this far, you should be resting. The fact that you're here and not resting means Avalon's doing some amount of work. You had a shaky will, but I think it was there because you thought, I have to keep my promise to team with Tosaka. So even though your will was shaky, it was there enough to get you here. But I think now that Rin has turned you down, what will you had left is going to shatter. So you're going to be hurt really badly here. Top of the whole caster situation. Rin kicked him down on the way out. Yeah. My wound hurts. I look down at the night scenery that swallowed Tosaka and repeat those words in my head. Can you get back safely? Do we have another interlude? Okay. Who? It's a quiet night. This could be fucking anyone. Probably Ren. That's the most likely candidate, but it could be anyone. Okay, I at least want to know whose interlude this is. The wind blowing on the mountain is gentle. Mountain? Rito Mountain? And the rustling of the trees is quiet as a whisper. The wind blowing on the mountain is gentle. Rustling of the trees is as quiet as a whisper. There are no birds singing about winter, nor are there beasts howling at the moon. Okay. No birds singing, and no beasts howling. It's too quiet. The only path leading to the Rito Temple. Probably Rin. Can I get some confirmation? The long stone steps preserve its peacefulness tonight as well. but others do not know. This place has withstood 5 battles already. Each one was a great clash. 5? Excuse me? 5? Are we counting Assassin Saber and Archer Caster as 2 different battles? Or is that all one battle? Caster made a strong implication that she'd already fought Berserker. So maybe there was a Berserker battle. There was the Caster Archer battle for sure. Even if you count Assassin Saber as a different battle, that's 3 if we're only counting this timeline. Am I missing something? This place has withstood 5 battles already. Each one was a great clash. Maybe this is the omnipotent narrator counting all the timelines. If they are, then yeah, there was a battle in timeline 1, battling Assassin. There was a battle fighting Gilgamesh. Then timeline 2, there's another battle fighting Caster. That's 3, which means we're counting both timelines and battles we haven't seen. So maybe Berserker versus Caster that happened off screen beforehand in both times. That's 5? That's the only way I count 5. Or do you mean like 5 battles as in 5 Grail Wars? I'm gonna feel silly if that's what they mean. Yeah, I know there's a possibility the game will explain. That's why I love thinking about it beforehand, trying to think if I can figure out the right answer before the game explains. Duh! That's the whole point of the theorizing. This place has withstood 5 battles already. Each one was a great clash. Many servants challenged the Rito Temple. Okay. Did Lancer attack at some point? Maybe if Lancer scoped out the temple, I guess that makes sense. Kira was having Lancer scope shit out. Lancer might have scoped out the temple. Berserker scoped out the temple. Archer fought Caster. If Assassin versus Saber counts, there's still one missing battle. Did Ryder attack at some point? I assume Shinji was too much of a fraidy, but he might have had Ryder attack to find out that the temple was even a problem in the first place and then just ran away. Caster probably would have let him run away, I guess, because he's just a worm that can be easily dealt with. Many servants challenged the Rito Temple. Berserker, Lancer, Ryder, Saber, Archer. Okay, so Berserker did attack. Lancer scoped. Ryder attacked as well. That's how Shinji knew and knows in the other timeline. Okay, fair. Alright. Saber and Archer. That's cheating. Those are the same battle. In my mind, those are the same battle. I don't know. I guess Saber fought Assassin, Archer fought Caster. To me, that's more the same battle. Gramps might have ordered Shinji to order Ryder to scout. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like Shinji's a bit of a pussy, but if Makiri Gramps is calling the shots, he might have been like, scope out the temple, send Ryder to see what's up. I could see that happening, for sure. Berserker, Lancer, Ryder, Saber, Archer. This mountain gate is able to enjoy the darkness, thanks to the monster that's repelled all 5 enemies. Okay. So this is an omnipotent narrator then, because Ren would not know this, I don't believe. I guess the idea behind interludes is that it is an omnipotent narrator, whereas when it's from someone's perspective, it's actually their perspective. And that's what makes it important that this is an interlude and not just Ren's perspective, which I'm assuming it's Ren's perspective, but... Oh! The longsword moves. Wait, are we fighting? Is Archer fighting Assassin? Is that just happening? It is fortunate that the moon is not out. The arc of the sword moving in a crescent moon shape is so beautiful that the moon would be ashamed of itself if it saw it. The moon would be ashamed? It's like, how dare that sword make such a perfect moon shape? What a bitch!
聞いているのですか、アサシン。あなたには門番を続けてもらうと言ったのです。
Wait, is this not even Ren's perspective? Is this Assassin's perspective? Is this an Assassin interlude? Because that would be awesome. Since, you know, he died off screen in Timeline 1. And I'm thinking he doesn't like Caster very much, so there could be something there. Are you listening, Assassin? I told you that you will continue to guard the gate. He ignores the Magus in purple Caster. It's an Assassin interlude. Assassin lowers his longsword and glances at the mountain forest with interest. Ah, that's so cool! Okay. Oh, that's so cool. All right, that's so cool. Okay. I wanted to know who was interluding. We know now. All right. Assassin lowers his long sword and glances at the mountain forest with interest. Okay. A Shiro and Assassin team up. Who else would know everything that's happened in front of the temple? Sure, but like I feel like the interludes have made it. I don't know. They've made it ambiguous if they're even that person's perspective or if they're omnipotent. So that was my conclusion because I did not expect an assassin interlude. But that's really cool though. That's our first ever servant interlude. That's not true. Saber is a servant. That's our first ever non-Saber servant interlude. But okay. Assassin lewd. That's not how you spell assassin. Assassin? Did I spell that right? Hold on. Yeah, if I didn't, who cares? Assassin. That looks wrong. Whatever. 2 S's? Ass-assin? I'm going to say ass-assin. Was I correct, Mommy? Is it ass-assin? It is ass-assin. I did it. Cool. Ass-assin, lewd. So, the aim is just skipping all the Shiro sulking, pain, dying with interludes. I kind of expected something like this, but I thought it would be more focused on Rin. The jumping around is very interesting, though, for sure. Okay, so the idea of an Assassin Shiro team-up, I'm doubting it goes in that direction. It could. Maybe that's what they're setting up here. The reason I was doubting initially that it was going to go in that direction is because I do feel like Castor is the big finale, so I kind of thought Shiro would go off and insert himself into the Gilgamesh Berserker situation, and then once that's resolved, team back up with Castor with Rin once he's proved himself, and then they fight Castor and fully solve it. That's where my mind was, because if we do an Assassin team-up, unless Assassin can just fully leave Castor and go off and do something else, they're probably going to focus on Castor, which means they finish off the Castor thing before moving on to the Gilgamesh Berserker thing, which I'm doubtful of, and that's the main reason that I don't think that's the route they're going, but maybe that's what this is building up to. Maybe. It could be. We could do an Assassin Shiro team-up. That could definitely happen. But regardless of where we're going, this feels like a really good beat to me. I don't know. I feel like I've mined enough information, and I didn't say it, but I was planning to have today be a short stream. And so I could keep going, but this is very intrigue, and we're coming up on the weekend, and I think I'm actually going to be able to do a long stream on Monday for the first time, and I don't remember. It's been ages. Yeah, so I think we are going to stop here. Yes, I could intermission, but I really like this beat. And so, yes, I think I'm going to stop for now. I am very excited where it's going, but I'm also so excited that I don't want to get cut off in somewhere interesting because the weekend's coming up. So, yeah. What was that? Every stream this week was cut short. That is not true. Maybe it is. They've been having good beats. I can't help it. The good beats. I can't help if there's a good beat at a good time. I respect the beats. I'm also just getting used to some real life stuff this week. So, hey, at least we didn't cancel the whole week because of internet issues. That happened a couple weeks back or something like that. So I count this week as a win. Yeah, so I will see you guys next time. Still don't have an outro phrase. I'm very excited. Things are definitely heating up, but that's all the more reason why I want to stop here and not go a little further and then stop and then be like, oh no, I have to wait a weekend. I like waiting a weekend here. I feel comfortable waiting a weekend on this part. So, see you around. Still don't know what your phrase. I already said that, so now I'm gonna stop.